What's up guys, it's Manga time once again. I'm here today to bring you my review of Bleach 644, Baby Hold Your Hand 7, Never Ending My Dream. Sorry for the really late review guys, but like, yesterday I was just literally working solidly, like I didn't have time to do anything else. And now I finally have time, so let's just get straight into the review. As always guys, please subscribe to my channel, I'd really appreciate the support. But yeah, thank you. Let's get on with it. So basically, at the end of last chapter, we know that Pernida was regenerating to the point of where she exploded, and now she has exploded. But the thing is, I don't know if she's actually dead, because the pieces of Pernida hit the floor, and as soon as they hit the floor, they start to regenerate. Then, of course, they explode again. But the thing is, it's definitely possible, I think, for Pernida to come back still. Because Pernida's definitely not dead. I think it's going to be a constant cycle of regenerate, die, but I definitely think it's possible she might come back at some point. I mean, it's the left arm of sulking. If Pernida's actually gone like this, that'd be hugely disappointing. But, you know, I think Mayuri's got a hard-fought victory here, but at the same time, if the elite Sternritter, the guy can be taken out by a single captain, because let's be honest, Kenpachi didn't really add anything to the fight. If an elite Sternritter can be taken out by a single captain, then really the Shinigami aren't going to have any problems whatsoever with this fight. But also, not only that, it's the left arm of the sulking. You know, surely the left arm of the sulking is not just going to die like that without literally any context whatsoever, because annoyingly we didn't get any backstory. I mean, I know I should be, like, used to this by now, but it doesn't stop it from being very annoying. However, Mayuri continues to walk forwards like a bit of a badass, as Pernida's body parts, like, essentially drop around like rain. He's carrying, of course, Nemu's brain, but as he walks, he just suddenly falls flat on his face, which is actually kind of funny until you realise why. His legs have been warped by Pernida's nerves. And that's kind of rough because they've been absolutely destroyed by the looks of things. You know, Mayuri's like, oh, you know, some of your nerves were still alive, so you managed to at least take my legs. That's kind of annoying because now I'm in the same situation as Zaraki. And when it looks like Mayuri can't move, Ikkaku and Yumichika show back up again. After their random disappearance when they tried to rescue Kenpachi from Mayuri's Bankai about 4 chapters ago. So Mayuri's like, oh, you know, what's this? The 11th Division stay behind. You know, just as I suspected, you guys, the foolishness of your division knows no bounds. And then Mayuri commends them for not basically stepping in and intervening in his fight because they're like, you know, battle-hungry lunatics. So Mayuri then tells them, you know, to listen carefully because close by there are some chambers. There are some body protection capsules that Nemu brought along with her. Now, before you scream arsepool, before you scream, where the hell did this come from? This is a little bullshit. It's not quite. We saw these chambers in Bleach 612. That's the only time we have seen them, but we did see them. It was in one of the rare instances where Kubo does a flashback of something we haven't actually seen before. No, that's not what I mean. Not a flashback. Kind of one of those grayed out panels that generally shows something we've seen before. Yeah, he did one of those, but it was something we hadn't seen, so it was something that was going on at the same time. For instance, there was one of Komamura and Iba facing off against a bunch of Soldat. The Mayuri's one showed him with these massive chambers, and I think most of us predicted that he had put the zombies in the chambers. Now, there are 4 chambers here, but there's definitely only 2 people in them. Mayuri pushes the button, opens the chambers, and Hitsugaya and Matsumoto are in there, and the 2 behind them open as well, but there's very clearly no one in there. So does that mean Rose and Kensei are actually dead? It's possible. That'd be kind of disappointing. I'd definitely rather see they come back than Hitsugaya and Matsumoto, but that's never going to happen. but yeah. So basically, Mayuri says, you know, they should be as good as new. It would take longer than I'd like to reverse their zombification. I like how we don't even get told how he reversed the zombification. Kubo's just like, forget it. You know, the explanation doesn't matter. He's doing it anyway. So apparently it comes at the cost of their lifespans being greatly reduced, but I don't think whether that actually plays out in the story or not. I don't know, because unless they've been like reduced to a day or something, which I find highly unlikely. Anyway, Hitsugaya steps out and he's wearing, you know, he's still wearing the Vandenreich uniform. And Mayuri is being carried by Ikkaku and Yumichika. And I have to say, I love this whole scene. I don't give a shit about Hitsugaya, and frankly, he could have stayed dead as far as I'm concerned. But it's interesting seeing him come back. And just this whole scene of people actually being thankful to Mayuri, who, let's be honest, was the most hated captain. But Mayuri, yeah, he's he's being carried by Ikkaku and Yumichika, and they place him in one of the open capsules, and they place Kenpachi in one as well. So they're both going to probably be healed up at some point. Whether or not they'll participate in the battle soon is kind of hard to say. Mayuri might be down for the count as far as his actual fights go in this arc, but Kenpachi's bound to have another one. But then we get Ikkaku and Yumichika saying to Kenpachi, well, we're going now, Captain Zaraki. And I like that because, the lieutenants, they haven't surpassed the captain, but it's nice seeing them staying on and fighting after he's been defeated. And I think that's just a cool kind of reversal. But anyway, they both turn to Mayuri, and I think Mayuri kind of lies there expecting them to kind of berate him for something or other. But they fall to their knees and they say, Captain Kurotsuchi, thank you for saving Captain Zaraki. And that's a really nice panel. It's really well drawn of both Ikkaku and Yumichika bowing to Mayuri as they thank him as the lid shuts on the capsule. That's really well done, actually. I like that a lot. It's a really quite dynamic picture. But they both run off, and Mayuri's kind of lying in the capsule saying, oh, so it seems like everyone's thanking me today. It's a rather strange and sickening feeling. But then we realise he's actually got Nemu's brain inside his Shihakusho, and he says, that all of those feelings pale in comparison to the transformation and the evolution that I've managed to achieve. And, he says, at long last, a Konpaku that I developed from literally nothing has evolved on its own accord. And this is interesting because Mayuri doesn't seem to be disappointed anymore that Nemu died. It's almost as though he thinks the brain is now the next form, or at least he's talking about Nemu back when she was still alive. So he has some pride in her, which I think is interesting. But I tell you, there's been more brains in this arc so far than we have in the whole story. I don't know what the hell happened to Gremmy either. But anyway, Mayuri's kind of lying in there, and he's like, oh, I finally stepped out of your shadow, Urahara Kisuke, and he looks really different actually at this point in time. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because he's having not a personality change, but he's not a personality change, but he's having a moment of change where he's humble. He's actually admitting as well that he was in Urahara's shadow, which I quite like because they've had a fierce one-sided rivalry. Like Urahara's never really been that bothered or anything, but Mayuri's been very bitter about the fact that Urahara's a better scientist than him, essentially. But Mayuri's like, as the lid shuts on the capsule, he's like, I can't for the life of me quite picture your face, but it will make the moment all more sweeter when I see it in person. And I tell you what, I know this is probably very far-fetched, but this scene makes me think Mayuri has just died. Because that's very much last words, that's famous last words, the way he's like, when we next meet, I'll be able to show you how much better I am, and he's like, I can't wait to see the look on your face, but it's one of those moments where it's like, you never will see the look on his face because you just died. It's possible that that's not happened, but it really looks like he's died, in my opinion, or he has just gone to sleep. It could be either of the two of them, but as he says this, he's clasping onto the brain, his most prized invention. And then, as he seems to just kind of drift, he looks like he's drifting to the bottom of some kind of ocean or something like that, which to me is possible, again, figurative of him dying. But then there's like a naked Nemu there for some reason. I don't really know why. She looks like she's going to try and grab him. Oh, although actually, now that I say that, I think there's now more evidence to the fact that Mayuri might have died, because on the first panel, Nemu's hand is quite close to his face. But then she seems to miss him because after that he's now falling quite far away, and so that to me again looks like death because he's like, she tried to grab him but he's just gone. He probably isn't dead, but I feel like there's a lot of death symbolism going on in this little section here. But anyway, we then move on to Urahara, and he's like super shocked that Mayuri seems to have been defeated. Well, not defeated, but his Reiatsu's basically gone. And that's weird because I thought there was so much thick Quincy Reiatsu around that they couldn't sense each other, but, whatever. And I'll tell you what else is weird as well. They didn't know where Mayuri was, but apparently he can sense his Reiatsu, so maybe he does. I don't know. But anyway, Shunsui and Urahara are now racing towards, Varvelt, and Shunsui's like, it's Captain Kurotsuchi, isn't it? And they don't seem to think anything is going to be wrong with Mayuri because it's Mayuri, and he's the scientist guy who can always kind of get out of any situation. But the bigger issue they've got on their hands at the moment is that someone is taking out all of their people and they don't know where the hell they are. Interestingly, all of the vice captains, bar Rukia, Renji, Hinamori, and Nanao, have been taken down, which is freaking crazy, really. What was even the point of bringing Isane, Sentaro, Kiyone, etc. to the Royal Realm? There doesn't seem to be any point, but... So, Omaida's down, Isane's down, Kiyone's down, Sentaro is down. Now, do all the vice captains include Hiyori, Lisa, Hachi? I mean, like, are all these people down? It's hard to say because we only get to see these few guys in this chapter. But Lil Barro has been doing some serious work. You know, this guy's been doing some legwork. In terms of Shinigami's defeated by a single opponent, I think he must be at the top now because that's a lot of characters. But anyway, yeah. As they're running, Shinji's like, oh, you know, this kind of sucks because if we slow down, we're playing right into the enemy's hands, but we don't know where he's coming from, so we can't find him. At which point we see Lil Barro aiming down his gun, and actually I have to say that the more we see Lil Barro, the more I think his design is actually quite cool. I think as a character he's a bit boring though, but I mean maybe we'll get more out of that later. But yeah, he's looking down the gun sight and he's like, yeah, it's terrifying, isn't it? It must be, having no idea where I'm aiming from as I snipe you. You know, your comrades are falling one by one. And if we look at the panel there of Lil Barro looking out across the Varvelt, there's about 10 people left standing. So a bunch of the Vizards probably have been taken out as well, which kind of sucks for them. But I imagine they'll all get back up later. I really can't believe that Lil Barro has taken these guys out for good. But yeah, he says, you know, it's only natural to be overwhelmed with terror in a situation like this. And then Shunsui says, you know, we've got to do something, otherwise we'll never figure out what this guy is. And then Lil Barro says, you know, if there were a person who was devoid of those fears in the group, they'd be a lunatic or an idiot. And he's talking about Shunsui because Shunsui turns around and stops and he's like, you know, someone's going to have to risk being shot to find out where this guy is. And obviously we're supposed to believe that Shunsui is making a huge mistake. Shinji's like, you know, oh, stop it, you're going to be playing right into his hands. And then something happens, I don't know what, but it lets them know where Lil Barro is. There's like a random light shining for some reason. Or what it is it's a visual representation of Lil Barro's Reiatsu becoming visible to Shunsui amongst the rest of the Reiatsu. That's possibly what it is, I don't really know. But Shinsui's like, found you, but just before he says that, he gets blasted in the chest. And I love the panel where he gets shot because it looks awesome. He's got really surprised. But yeah, he gets blasted in the chest, and you're supposed to think he's dead, I presume, but obviously he's not. But yeah, Lil Barro says, you know, no matter the level of discipline or how perfectly regimented a group is, there's always going to be one idiot who brings about their downfall. And he says, you know, I've seen countless groups like this before, but I actually held you Shinigami in a higher regard. As he says that, though, this strange tune starts to play. And I believe the name is called Daruma ga Korondo or something like that. In the manga stream version, they completely balls it up by doing the whole Cradle Will Fall song, which apparently has nothing to do with anything. What's actually happening here is there's a song playing. It's like Daruma ga Korondo or something like that. And Lil Barro has no idea what's going on, and he's kind of looking around like, where the hell is this coming from? And suddenly, when the song ends, Shunsui is right behind him. And I like the panel where Shunsui jumps out and his face is funny. But yeah, Lil looks cool, and Shunsui does his whole swipe thing, and he manages to cut off the barrel of the gun. But before we move on, what essentially happened here was Shunsui revealed he has another game. His Zanpakuto has another game called Daruma ga Korondo, and that game it's essentially there's this doll called the Daruma doll, and when it does a 360 turn, so say you're looking at this doll, right? Then it starts to do a 360 turn. If you're still looking at the doll by the time it comes back to where it was, you get killed. That's essentially what happened here. Shunsui became a doll, which is why he's still alive. It's almost like he left a substitute. So essentially what happened was Shunsui left a substitute of himself, the Daruma doll, which got shot. Lil Barro kept looking at that doll until the end of the song, which meant that Shunsui arrived right next to him, which is how Shunsui got next to him like that. So yet another game alongside Ironi, Takaoni, Kagaoni, Bushogoma. Like seriously, Shinsui's Zanpakuto has the most ridiculous amount of abilities I've ever seen. But that's luckily because Katen Kyokotsu is like my favourite Zanpakuto. So he then swipes at like a Lil Barro, like I said, and I always love the pictures where Shunsui does a swipe because he always looks sinister as hell. And he cuts off the barrel of Lil Barro's gun. And the final page of this chapter is absolutely beautiful in my opinion. I think it's a stunningly drawn page. Shunsui's standing there, facing off with Lil Barro in a rather epic-looking stance, and he's like, that's an impressive dodge, you're pretty quick. But then Shunsui says, but I've taken your weapon, next will be your life. What? That's such a cool line! That is such a cool line. I mean, Shunsui's my favourite captain anyway, so maybe I'm slightly biased, but he faces down Lil Barro with his sword, and they're just both drawn incredibly well in this scene. That's one of the best pictures of Shunsui I think we've ever seen, in my personal opinion. I just think it's really good. I don't know what it is about it, but he looks awesome, and then Lil Barro stares him down as well, kind of like, doesn't say anything, but you can tell he's kind of thinking, oh fuck. But yeah, that's the end of the chapter, and Lil Barro versus Shunsui appears to be the next matchup. If you want my prediction, however, I don't think that fight's going to last very long. I don't think Shunsui's going to finish that fight. What I think is going to happen is Lil Barro is going to somehow, and bear with me, Lil Barro is going to somehow get the upper hand. I'll tell you what would be neat, and this is just a personal prediction, but I'd like Lil Barro to use the Quincy shadows to his advantage. So it'd be cool if he went in and out of the shadows to try and pop shots at Shunsui. I imagine he's going to somehow get his gun back because he's a Quincy, so he'll just remake it or something like that. But yeah, and then so Shunsui goes into the shadows, only to discover that Lil Barro obviously does the same. And Lil Barro gets into a position where he's about to blast Shunsui, only for the shot to go the other way. Shinji then arrives, and he's like, I'll take this fight from here. Because Lil Barro seems like the perfect opponent for Shinji to fight, and this is about time that Shinji actually got a proper fight. Because this could be a good chance for Shinji to go Bankai for the first time. Because this is a bit early, in my opinion, for Shunsui to actually have a fight. I feel like he's better reserved for Hashwolf or something like that. So I feel like Shunsui might go up against him for a little bit, but then Shinji will take over. Shinji needs a proper fight, and this seems like a perfect opportunity for that. That's personally what I think is going to happen, but who knows? Kubo might have Shunsui fight already. It's interesting. I don't know why Shunsui keeps getting the gunslingers. That's another reason why it'd be cool for Shinji to do it, because then it wouldn't be Shunsui. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting either way. Hopefully Lil Barro gets another long fight like Pernida. Hopefully we actually get some fucking backstory this time. I feel like I'm going to be saying that a lot in the upcoming months. But yeah, that's it for this week's chapter, guys. The first time I read it, I was like, nah, this is good, not great. But actually, now I've read it a couple of times, I really like it. I'm going to drop a 4 on this week's chapter. Hitsugaya coming back, I don't care about in the slightest. Frankly, he's probably just going to get annihilated again the next time he fights. Because he's got a new fighting force now, obviously himself, Matsumoto, Yumichika, Ikkaku, and Hinata is there somewhere. But we've already seen how useless the fucking lieutenants have been so far, so they're probably not going to be much use. Hitsugaya might come up against like Gerard Valkyrie and get absolutely curb stomped. I think that's possibly what's going to happen here, but we shall see. And hopefully Pernida's not done for good. But yeah, I love the second half of the chapter though. Lil Barro versus Shunsui promises to be pretty good if it stays with them. So yeah, hopefully it does. Let me know in the comments below, guys, what you thought of this week's chapter. Do you like the events that happened? Did you like Mayuri's, well, it looked like closure to me, but we'll see. And do you like the idea of Shunsui versus Barro being the next matchup? Let me know what you think about the possible future of that fight. But until next time, guys, make sure to subscribe and like the video. I'd super appreciate it. Goodbye.